I never saw the cro-mags. I know you from the Stimulators.
That blew my mind when you told me that you saw us play.
I remembered, standing out front of Max's Kansas City in like 1980, 1981?
79, 80, because they were closed.
And trying to get in and who's this fucking 13-year-old kid who's just walking through walls, getting served, gliding by the doorman. It was like, oh, that's Harley Flanagan, man. He's the drummer for the Sinners. Yeah, well, how come he gets, how have the laws of the universe changed that allow this kid to move in a grown-up world? And I think that's one of the many things that's interesting about the book is here you were at age, 13, 14, and earlier.
Well, when I started playing with them, I was like 12, 13, 12. I didn't want it to just be my story. I wanted people to be able to read it and get an idea of what New York was like. Like almost like a Huck Finn type of a story of the Lower East Side in the 80s. Like, what it was like being a kid and all that madness. It really was madness, dude.
Almost nobody had a childhood like you, though. I mean, really, almost no one. You wrote the book at age, 7?
Yeah.
With a foreword by Allen Ginsburg?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that happened to me, too. No, actually, it didn't. I think my first comment to you after I read the first draft of the book was, look, the person who, in the film version, version of this book, whoever plays your mom is the one getting the Oscar. That's the juiciest role for, in my view. And clearly this was a pivotal, really important figure, not just in your life, but I mean in everything that was going on. And I think, I guess your mom and your aunt as well. These were two rather extraordinary women who, for better or worse, put you into some pretty amazing, an amazing orbit.
Yeah, they did. Not for nothing, man. My mom would be so, she died just over a year ago, but she would be so fucking thrilled to see me and you talking about this right now. She was a big fan of yours, and when I told her that I met you, she was like, oh, wow. Of course, she was already pretty sick at that point, but she'd be really proud right now, dude. And when you said that to me, that I didn't really include a lot about my mom and my childhood, because a lot of it was really hard for me to swallow. And I didn't want to sound like I was dogging her in any way, like she put me on this fucking roller coaster ride, which in a lot of ways she did, but, to be fair, she was a flower child, a 60s hippie, I guess her idea of educating me and stuff was exposing me to the world as much as she could. And, my mom got me the Sex Pistols record, when it first came out. She was fucking cool. She went into a record store in London and she's like, what are the kids listening to now? What's the current shit? And the dude cracked out the Pistols' first album and the Damned's first album and some stiff 45s like Reckless Eric and Nick Lowe and whatever other bullshit. And so it's like my mom kind of, in a way, yeah, I owe a lot to her.
I think my dad was in the music industry. He worked for Columbia Records back in the I guess late '60s and sort of the golden age, Clive Davis era, '70s. And to his credit, he worked in the classical music division. Both parents were heavily into opera and classical music, but they were very, very supportive of any time I expressed any interest in any kind of music. As long as it was music, whether they liked it or not, they were supportive of it. So that was, it's something I'm grateful about. And it's, my dad would drive me to the Fillmore East when I was 12, 13. I mean, he wasn't leaving me alone there. I mean, he'd let me and my friends go in and he'd pick us up afterwards and, get us home. So it was hardly a street kid. I didn't have a childhood like yours, but I was exposed to a lot of music early on, and my parents were encouraging of that.
It's funny because, you were talking about how your family were always exposing you to music, and obviously mine did. I gotta say, sadly, I really didn't expose my kids to as much music as I probably should have, but it was more out of fear, honestly. Like, I had a lot of great experiences, but I fucking grew up so fast, and I had so many bad experiences that I didn't want them to get the bug. Like, I honestly felt like, jiu-jitsu and MMA is fucking way safer, man. I way have to be like pro fighters
I'm
than
like that
pro
with-
musicians, because
I'm waiting for my daughter to say, "Daddy, I want to be a chef." I'm gonna be like,
no. I'm a musician. I just can't help it, man. I'm up at night like 2, 3 in the morning because I can't sleep, because I have riffs that I have to figure out how to play them, and I have time signatures that are driving me crazy. I'm like, oh, this beat is so, and it's like, it borderlines on like psychosis.